to get one before the first night. Couldn't be happier. Wicked. And this feels like a bigger fish. Crusty old warlock. It's got a massive, bizarre head on it. I've really enjoyed myself and can't wait to get back down. You join me at my syndicate lake, Grenville, which is a very, very windswept, big, open expanse of water in Cambridgeshire. And I'm sure it is well known to many of you. I've sort of spent most of this morning having a good look round, to be honest, and nothing really sort of presented itself with a you have to fish in this place. So I've done 2 or 3 laps this morning, which takes a long time around a 70-acre lake, and I've settled on this swim, which is peg 11, and I've seen maybe sort of 3 or 4 fish in this swim's water. So that's pretty much the best that I've got to go on. Often on here you can get really big elaborate shows of fish where you're seeing 2 or 3 in the air at once, and that's definitely not been the case today so far. I've led it up. I found myself a spot on the side of a bar. You've got weed sort of on the top of the bar, and just as it comes to the edge of it, it is a nice like clear area before it drops away into deep water. I found that spot. I've put out quite a few spods of boilies, probably 40 or 50 spawns of a mix of tuna and live system. And for now, I've actually not put my rods on there. I've just dropped them in quite close in where I've seen 2 shows since I've been here, and they've just gone out on solid bags of boilie crumb. And yeah, we're sort of going to see what pans out for the afternoon. Tomorrow we are due a big wind to, I mean, not that this is a small wind, but a big wind to drift into this corner or hool into this corner, and hopefully it's going to bring a few fish with it. Well, one of those bags that I chucked, there's probably the closest one in actually. This is probably about 30 yards out. Little funny up down bite, and I was thinking, is it a roach? Is it, what is it? And yeah, it feels very carp-like, which is a brilliant start. To get them close in on here is really quite a treat actually, because a lot of it can be long range work. Unceremoniously get the waders on. It's right in between my other 2 lines, it's a common. There we go. What a start. Certainly no monster by Grenville's standards, but any bite out of here, you just don't know what it's going to be. And that's a good start to the session. So yeah, get one before the first night. Couldn't be happier. Wicked. Yeah, little Northern Special Mini in a bag of crumb. Absolutely wicked. Okay, so it's actually just started peeing down with rain and I want to get the rod back out ASAP. So I've just been sat in the bivvy, quickly knocked up a PVA bag of boilie crumb, Pacific tuna boilie crumb, and yeah, gonna get it back out there. It's literally 30 yards out, I caught it, so it's an easy chuck, and yeah, trying not to let the bag melt before I chuck it out. Well, can't quite believe it, just put the rod back out, and I was just tying up some rigs actually for fishing over my bait, and yeah, the same rod 30 yards out has gone again. Again, it doesn't feel like a big fish, but for as long as you're getting bites on here, you don't know what's going to be on the end. I'm going to have to jump in. Because he's gone under me rods. This is one of his little escapees, I can see that. He had some in the floods. Escape. That's one of them. It's proper, really lovely little fish actually. Yeah, not what Grenville is famed for, but that probably one day will be what Grenville is famed for. He's got a couple of stock ponds over there. Yeah, like I say, in the winter they flooded and I think some came through the pipe. And yeah, he's collecting these ones and taking them back to the stock pond. Awesome. £20 on the button. And there we are, an absolutely mint common to get the session kicked off. This is actually £20 on the button. And yeah, when it went in the net, kind of thought it was about £15, but on here, the fish are so thick set that pretty much it's guess what they are and +5. And yeah, this one has proved that theory to be the case. Really awesome to catch them so close in, but hopefully they do get on that bait that I've put out. And yeah, maybe we can get it stuck into some proper Grenville chunks, who knows. So this little devil has yeah, escaped his kindergarten, been truanting since the winter, growing no doubt, because they escaped I think as fingerlings, but yeah, he's been rounded up now and he's going back to school before he can join the big boys lake. But isn't that just perfection in miniature? A little zip linear dinner plate, and yeah, believe me, there are 40-pounders in here that look like that, so if we could get a bite from one of those, it would be epic. It's starting to get dark pretty quick actually, and yeah, I'm going to put a rod on my bait now. I'm going to put 2 rods on the bait. Whilst it's been great getting a couple of bites close in, I haven't seen anything and haven't had a bite for probably an hour or so. And yeah, a guy a couple of pegs up from me, he's actually been catching today, or he's caught 2 today over bait. So yeah, with any luck, it's all sort of primed up out there and ready, but more so 2 rods out there and in preparation for tomorrow morning. It does seem to be day bites at the moment from talking to the people who are fishing. So yeah, couple of rods on there. Hopefully over that bait, there's a chance of picking off a bigger fish than just the bags chucked about. So let's get to it.
Well, as you can see, this is about as much of a first light bite as you can get. The moon is actually directly above me, still shining quite bright, but behind the camera over there, there is a little bit of light just coming into the sky, and my match the hatch wafter over the bait has gone. And this feels like a bigger fish than the ones we had yesterday. So what a brilliant start to the day. The wind has swung round as we expected to sort of push down into this corner, and it looks good. It does look good. Even though there's not a cloud in the sky today, and I think the weather is supposed to be quite sunny, compared to yesterday's cloud, I think this wind should push the fish on. I'm going to concentrate because it does feel pretty good. Oh, it is cold. Temperature has dropped off big time. These are the first few cold days we've had in ages. Oh, he's in the edge now. Need to jump in. Yeah, came over that weed and that shelf very nicely. Only pinged off one bit of weed, which is good. There he is out there. Here he comes. That doesn't look a bad fish at all. You'll do very nicely. Yes. Yeah. Ah, that's wicked. Well happy with that. Yeah, bite off of the bait. And that probably means I want to get all of my rods on that bait now. And yeah, get this one back out as quickly as possible. Get more bait out there and continue. But yeah, it's not one of the real big uns, but it's getting there. Nice. Look at the size of that. All of its fins are massive. 30, 33.
So there we go. They're getting bigger, that is for sure. And look at him for a, well, what Brad behind the camera described as a crusty old warlock. It's got a massive, bizarre head on it. It's all wrinkly and crusty and like a short body, but really deep, massive fins. Yeah, a cool fish, a cool fish. Not a stunner, we can't call him a stunner, but he's cool, and he's certainly warmed me up because it is pretty cold this morning. This wind smashing in here, playing that fish, my hands were freezing, but yeah, he's warmed me up, and spotting a bit more bait out there, that's also warmed me up. Got all 3 rods now on that spot, so hopefully if a few more turn up and decide to get their heads down, we could be on for a couple more bites today. Let's cross our fingers and give this guy a bit of treatment and get him back. Awesome. So sometimes when you're fishing boilie only venues, it can seem like you don't have an awful lot of options, but I always like to try and make my bait a little bit different, try and do something different with it to make it stand out from everything else, or make it seem less scary than everything else. And how I've done that, and what I tend to do when I come to Grenville, is I wash my bait out. I like to wash it out at least a couple of days before I get to the session, and then basically what that means is you've got really, really soft, palatable bait that's gonna like appear on the bottom as if it's been there for a few days, even if you've literally just put it out. They can get through that really, really quickly as well. It's so soft and digestible. And yeah, basically what I tend to do is either a couple of days before my session, I'll wash it out with bottled water, or actually what I've done on this session is I was here last week and I actually prepped my bait then. So what I did was I got mixed sizes of boilies, like I've done in, like you can see in this mix. I've got 10s, 18s, 15s, and mixed flavours as well. I've got tuna and live system. I don't see why you need to just sort of pigeonhole yourself into using just one boilie, especially this time of year when the water temperatures are dropping a bit. Lots of people use fish meals on here, which is why the tuna works so well, but equally the live system is going to go through them really, really quickly, and of course is a really, really good bait for the cooler months. So last week I basically got my 2 buckets, one with live system in it, one with my mixed sizes of tuna, and I covered my tuna with Marine Amino 365, a good glug of that, and a small amount of trout and halibut pellet oil. I like the idea of the boilies drawing that on and then letting off little plips of oil that goes up through the deep water and hopefully draws the fish in. Then on top of that, I just fill up the rest of the bucket with water. So not only is the water sort of washing the baits out, making them appear like they've been in the lake for an awful long time, but it's actually giving them more flavour than what they already have. So for me, I tend to think that that makes my bait, one, stand out a little bit more in terms of flavour and attraction, but also seem slightly more subtle than just fresh boilies straight out the bag spotted into the lake. One other point to mention that washing out your baits really helps with is when you're fishing at range, because effectively all of the boilies are heavier than what they would have been if you hadn't washed them out, and that extra weight helps you get the distance with the spot.
Get off. Oh, look at that. But it's taken a little bit longer than I first thought, but it's looked better and better, and yeah, eventually the rod's peeled off. It's already caused me loads of dramas because my line's all together with weed that's been drifting in on this big wind. It's matted all my lines together, so there was a bit of a conundrum as to whether there was actually one on, but there is, and we've got him in a bit closer now, so that's good. There he is. He's a nice scaly one. He's in. Yeah, another bite. Right, need to sort my life out a little bit, get the rod back out, because yeah, when they get on you, you really need to make the most of it on here. Wicked. Check him out for a proper stunner. Yeah, fourth one now, second bite off the bait, and so at the moment I've got 2 rods out there on Match the Hatch live system wafters and 1 on a pink fluoro, and both of my bites have come on those Match the Hatch wafters, which does kind of coincide with my thinking that yeah, this time of year I've seen a lot of fluoros, and yeah, matching what you're feeding seems to sort of trip them up a little bit easier than on the fluoros, which are perfect in spring.
So to start this session, I began just by chucking some solid bags out. Now, I probably wasn't initially going to do that, but whilst I was getting things sorted, I saw a couple of fish show, yeah, 30 to 40 yards out, and it was just an opportunist thing. Knocked a couple of bags up, chucked them to where I'd seen the fish show, and I got 2 bonus bites. So obviously really glad that I did that, because if I hadn't have done that, I'd have just had 2 bites rather than the 4 that I've had. So yeah, it's always worth, if you see fish show, even if you want to get like bait out onto a spot and you want to establish something, if you see fish show, a solid bag cast to it is always a great way to get a really quick bite. So my setup here at Grenville starts with tungsten rig tubing, and that goes down to a 4-ounce inline flat pair and an edges drop-off system. The leads have to drop here, so it's imperative that I use that system to make sure that on the bite I'm getting rid of the lead every single time. And my rig inside the bag is really simple. It's literally just a 4-inch length of reflex braid, a size 6 stiff rig beak point hook, a tiny piece of silicone on the shank, and then a Northern Special mini pop-up. These little tiny 8mm pop-ups are the one in solid bags. Honestly, I have not caught more fish on any other hook bait than these in bags. They are just the one. They're so small and they sit perfectly under that size 6 stiff rig beak that the fish just comes in, nails the whole lot, and it goes up first time. I found if you're using bigger hook baits like 12, sort of 15 mil size hook baits, you get less bites simply because it's a bigger item that they find harder to suck up with the contents of your bag. Inside the bag, I literally just tied it rapid style, dropped some boilie crumb in first. I'm using Pacific tuna boilie crumb, dropped a little bit of that in first, then the hook bait, a little bit more, dropped the lead on top, gave it a tiny little drop of trout and halibut pellet oil. I think that's really, really important, especially in deep water like this. And where I actually caught those fish was about 27 feet deep. And just having that little bit of oil, like taking those scents and flavors from the contents of the bag up through the water layers, definitely helps to draw those fish in and hone them in on the bag. A little bit more crumb goes on top, and then just tie it off rapid style really, really quickly. And yeah, like I said, a couple of bonus bites at the start of the session yesterday that I wouldn't have had if I didn't chuck solid bags out. So over the bait, I'm presenting wafter hook baits, and they are just the live system wafters in 15 mil. Rig wise, it's really, really simple. It's 7 inches of Camatech semi-stiff down to a size 6 wide gate beat point hook. I've got a shrink tube kicker on there that's just sort of extending the same sort of angle that the eye is angled at. I'm not cutting it in really, really aggressively. It's just extending the shank via the angle that the eye is at. Then I've got a micro hook ring swivel that's mounting the hook bait and a hook bead. So really, really simple, sort of standard, I'd say boilie fishing tactics, really. Fishing something that matches what you're putting out over there. And I think a lot of people do definitely prefer to use fluoros, especially when they're fishing over a big bed of bait, because they think that it's going to get them a bite quicker. However, this time of year, they have been battered for a long, long time with fluoros, pinks and yellows chucked at them all year long, and they've seen it over and over again. If you're fishing a venue that gets a lot of pressure, like what this lake does, like any day ticket, this time of year they see those brighter hook baits as something dangerous. So yeah, it definitely seems to be working so far, matching the hatch and keeping everything subtle. So the sun is getting a lot lower in the sky, and nothing else has happened since that bite that was probably midday. The wind got up something savage this afternoon. I did try and sort of top up the spot and get the rod back out nicely, which I did manage to do, but probably not as accurately as I would have liked. The wind has died off now. It's still coming in, but it's a lot calmer, and I've topped the spot up now sort of properly. I've redone all 3 of my rods, and I don't think I could be fishing any better. I'm really happy with how they've all gone out, how they've landed, and how I spotted out. So yeah, I'm really sort of crossing my fingers and hoping that that there's still some fish in the area. I haven't seen an awful lot today at all. But speaking to people who have been walking around, equally they've not seen an awful lot at all. So it might just be that they're not showing lots. But yeah, I don't really know whether I've got lots on me, whether I've just got the odd one. So yeah, I'm kind of crossing my fingers and hoping for a similar thing to happen tomorrow morning. First light bite would be very, very nice, but you know, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I'm sitting here crossing my fingers, knowing that if I do get a bite, it could be £65. Who knows? So it is a pretty cold, dank, dreary, drizzly and windy morning on Grenville, and nothing more has materialised. I really felt like it was good for a sort of first light bite like yesterday. The wind swung round a little bit more sort of in my face, and I didn't think that was going to be a bad thing, but yeah, I haven't had any more. I think the lake has been pretty quiet. I think only one or two maybe have come out, quite a long way away from me. And yeah, so got a couple of hours left, and just going to have to cross my fingers to see if we can winkle one more out. But yeah, maybe we will, maybe we won't. But I've really enjoyed my session. I sort of always enjoy coming down here just because you've got the buzz of potentially catching an absolute unit. But the main thing is getting bites. There's no possible way of targeting them on here. You just have to fish for bites and hope that one of those big ones comes along. And that's what I've done on this session. I managed 4 bites, which I'm pretty pleased with. And yeah, to get one over 30, again, really happy with that. And yeah, if I don't get any more, I've really enjoyed myself and can't wait to get back down.